With Dead Island 2 set to release in just 4 short months, damn, 2023 is coming fast, and that is obviously, of course, assuming that the final official release date is in February. I wanted to go back and re-experience the original Dead Island game, or rather the remastered version from 2016, which I gotta admit, for the first few hours playing this game with it using the Dying Light visuals, made it really hard to not just quit this and go back and play that game instead, but I digress. Dead Island back in the day was a favorite game of mine. To be able to go out into the world and just kick the ever-living shit out of those who were sick and physically incapable of defending themselves was an incredible amount of fun. Fast forward over a decade from its original release and it still feels as great now as it ever did. And a bonus, the limb dismemberment in this game is just leagues above Dying Light 2, so I don't know what the fuck happened there. Story-wise, I couldn't really tell you what was going on in this game. I mean, I can, but with this game's porn quality of voice acting and dialogue between each character, it's not too hard to get disinterested in what's going on.
Well, why not? Where the hell are you?
You see the ocean? That island on the horizon? If you had a high-powered telescope, you'd see me waving to you.
That's where the prison is. Who the fuck are you? A convict? Speak!
But the basic premise, for those that care, is you're a survivor that's immune to a virus that has taken over the island of Benoy, and through the course of the game, you're doing favors for the survivors of the resort, slums, jungle, laboratory, and prison in an effort to escape. The game takes an RPG-like approach with you on this character select screen before starting up, and giving you an option to pick one of 4 main characters, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Sam B, the rapper, is all around blunt force objects, Logan is a throwing expert, and the other 2 specialize in firearms and sharp objects like knives, machetes, and scythes. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just skipped the girls' names not because I'm sexist, but because I have zero idea in how to pronounce this girl's name. So, revisiting the game after almost a decade, as much as I hate how big remakes and remasters are right now, I can't ignore that I do love the quality of life improvements. In fact, that when games are re-released like this, they do reach newer fans that may have missed out on the game's original release. And I say that because the game looks great, but at the same time, it feels unique. It feels older in its mission design and approach, and with games particularly open world games starting to feel very samey, or the games are just having you drown in side missions and extra BS, it makes this game feel like a breath of fresh air, even if it is a little older. Ironically, on that note, I do want to discuss some of this game's negatives while continuing the pattern of putting my foot in my mouth, because there is some weird side mission BS that this game does have. With certain characters, for instance, you'll get quote-unquote endless side quests, like having to find someone water or alcohol, and their quests never actually end, so you can just give them 400 bottles of each and the quest will stay open. Why? Well, if I had to guess, Techland wanted to see how long it'll take for you to notice that these filler quests are just making sure if you're actually paying attention and not just spamming the give them the water button. I also really don't like the RPG approach. I do love RPGs, however, when it's implemented in a way where you have to avoid an area or run from enemies just because you aren't high enough of a level, I think is an artificial and lazy way to stretch out the game's times. I don't know about you, but that's something that has just always bugged me. Next to the bad voice acting, the driving in this game is also very bad. If I could just fast travel or run from point A to point B anytime I could, I would rather do that. First person perspective and the feeling of the vehicle itself is just cumbersome, and at times it's really hard to gauge how close you are to hitting a parked vehicle or the railing. When it comes to this game's environments, the best area in my opinion is the resort, the starting area. You have bungalows, the beach, pools, a giant ass hotel in the middle of the area. It's beautiful, vibrant, it's different, it's an area that helps make this game really stand out. You know, you have pools completely soaked in blood, these little cabins out on the beach completely infested with the infected, pools and water slides guarded by the undead, and then the game transitions into the slums, which I really don't mind, with its tight corridors and clustered streets. And I did actually really enjoy the laboratory towards the end of the game, but the sewers and the jungle itself were just areas I felt made this game lose a lot of its charm, and as the game went on, I really just wish that I can get back to the resort. If there was ever a Dead Island 3, I would love for the resort concept to be revisited and completely expanded. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too sure how exactly that'll be done, but if they could just make the entire resort your playground with more bungalows, detailed interiors, and buildings to explore, to be able to go in and out of the hotel itself without requiring a loading screen, maybe even have a very small condensed jungle with a band of natives in it, something to differentiate from the resort itself but not make it too big of a distraction from that centerpiece. But as far as negatives goes, that's really it. The combat itself is very similar to Dying Light if you played that game before. There are firearms in this game with assault rifles and pistols. I don't remember seeing a shotgun, but both the assault rifles and the pistols can be modified to fire electric or fire ammunition. Much like the driving, the shooting is a little bit clunky. Not too bad, at least not on a mouse. I remember back with Dying Light, playing on a controller, I absolutely hated the shooting, so I'd imagine if you're playing on console, the shooting in this game is probably just as bad. But the combat itself is pretty solid. It still holds up. If you have friends to play with, this game is much more fun. It's actually currently discounted on Steam for like $4. For that price, I would absolutely recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the original Dying Light or just zombie games in general with a very heavy focus on melee-based combat. Going back to this game almost a decade later, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and personally it's got me a little bit more excited for Dead Island 2 to see how Dambuster Studios is going to spice things up and how much the sequel is going to add or take away from what the original set out to do, which is obviously something we're going to have to wait and see come February, provided this game doesn't get delayed again. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Have you guys played this game before? Have you been considering of hopping back into it or taking a look at it via Game Pass or even Steam? Let's talk down in the comment section below. And like always, in case you guys haven't joined the Discord yet, link is always down in the pinned comment. If you want to find someone to play this game with, or really anything in general, feel free to join. Can't wait to see you guys there. But like always, my name is Cynic. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.